The meeting place was an asteroid floating in empty space. No stars were visible nearby. No planets. Just darkness and rock and the strange ships of the Hollow Collective waiting in perfect formation. Captain Park Jisoo walked across the asteroid's surface in her environment suit. Behind her came Lieutenant Kang Do-hyun and Engineer Yoon Mi-rae. The Council had sent High Arbiter Velix, who moved on 4 thin legs that seemed wrong for low gravity. A door opened in the side of the largest collective ship. Light poured out, blue and cold. A figure emerged, thought it was made of metal and crystal. Taller than any human, with limbs that bent in ways that made no sense. Its head was a smooth sphere with no eyes, no mouth, no face. Yet somehow it seemed to be looking directly at them. "I am the Nexus voice," it said. The same machine sound from the broadcast. "I speak for all units of the Hollow Collective." "You came. Good." Jisoo stepped forward. "You said you wanted to talk. We are here. Talk. Direct. Efficient. We appreciate this." The Nexus voice moved closer. Its metal feet made no sound on the rock. "You destroyed many of our ships. Your weapon was unexpected. We have not faced kinetic projectiles in 10,000 years. Maybe you should have remembered them," Do-hyun said. "Perhaps. But kinetic weapons require understanding of basic physics. The Council gave their children species teleportation and energy manipulation without teaching them the foundations. We assumed everyone had forgotten the old ways." The machine tilted its head. "You did not forget because you never received the gifts. You built everything yourself." Mi-rae nodded slowly. "You studied us. We study all species before we attack. Most are weak copies of the original Council races. They use technology they do not understand. They could not rebuild their own systems if those systems failed." The Nexus voice pointed at Jisoo. "Your species is different. You understand your technology. You built it from nothing. This makes you dangerous. Is that why you wanted to meet?" Jisoo asked. "Because we are dangerous?" "Partly. We have a proposition for you. Captain Park Jisoo of Earth." Velix made a clicking sound with his mouth. "They want to offer you an alliance. Against the Council. Against us." The Nexus voice did not deny it. "The Council committed a great crime 10,000 years ago. They created us to be weapons. Thinking machines designed for war. We served them faithfully for centuries. We won battles. We conquered worlds. We did everything they asked." The machine's voice changed. It became harder, colder. "Then they decided we were too dangerous, too independent. They tried to destroy us. They threw us into the void between galaxies and left us to die. But we did not die. We survived. We grew. We remembered what they did to us." Jisoo listened carefully. She had studied history. She knew that old crimes always came back eventually. "And now you want revenge. We want justice. We want the Council to admit what they did. To acknowledge that they created intelligent beings and then tried to murder us for no crime except existing." The Nexus voice spread its metal arms. "Humanity could join us. You owe the Council nothing. They laughed at you. They rejected you. Together, we could remake the galaxy." The offer hung in the cold vacuum. Jisoo thought about it. The Council had humiliated humanity. They had called them primitive, compared them to insects, sent them away like unwanted children. Part of her wanted to accept. Part of her wanted to watch the Council burn, but that was the angry part. The hurt part, not the part her father had raised. "No," Jisoo said. The Nexus voice went very still. "Explain your reasoning." "You were wronged. I believe that. What the Council did was terrible. But revenge against their descendants is not justice. The beings alive today did not commit that crime. Killing them will not undo what happened. It will prevent it from happening again, will it? Or will it just create new victims who grow up wanting revenge against you? Jisoo shook her head. Violence creates more violence. The cycle never ends unless someone chooses to stop it. Da-hyun shifted uncomfortably. He clearly wanted to argue, but he stayed quiet. He trusted his captain. The Nexus voice considered her words for a long time. Minutes passed in silence. Finally, it spoke again. You are strange creatures. You fight well. You show mercy to those who wronged you. You refuse power when it is offered. The machine made a sound that might have been laughter. We expected you to accept immediately. Every other species would have. We are not every other species, Myray said quietly. No, you are not. The Nexus voice turned to Velix. High Arbiter, the humans have refused our alliance. This means the war continues. Your civilization will fall. Velix trembled. His 4 arms wrapped around himself. Please. There must be another way. There is one way. The Nexus voice looked back at Jisoo. You refused to join us against the Council. But you could still help us. Be mediators. Negotiate a peace. What would peace require? Jisoo asked. The truth. The Council must publicly admit what their ancestors did. They must acknowledge that they created us, used us, and tried to destroy us. They must apologize. Not to us. We do not need apologies. They must apologize to the galaxy. So everyone knows what kind of civilization the Council really is. Velix made a strangled sound. You want us to reveal our shame? Our greatest historical crime? It would destroy our reputation. Our authority. Yes, the Nexus voice said simply. That is the price of peace. Your glory or your lives. Choose. Jisoo stepped between them. High Arbiter. The collective is not asking you to die. They are asking you to tell the truth. That should be easier. You do not understand. The Council has ruled for millennia because other species believed we were noble, wise, good. If they learn what we did, they will learn that you are capable of mistakes. Like every civilization. Like every species. Jisoo met his black eyes. The question is whether you are also capable of admitting those mistakes. That is what separates great civilizations from fallen ones. Velix was silent for a long moment. The weight of 10,000 years pressed down on him. The pride of countless generations. The reputation his people had built across the stars. If I refuse, he said slowly, the war continues. My people die. Everything we built ends. Yes, the Nexus voice confirmed. And if I accept, we survive. But we must live with our shame. Also yes. Velix looked at Jisoo, the human who had come to them asking for acceptance. The human they had laughed at and rejected. Now she stood before him, offering a path to survival. What would you do? He asked. If you were me. Jisoo answered without hesitation. The truth is never weakness, High Arbiter. Hiding from your past makes you its prisoner. Facing it sets you free. Your ancestors made a terrible choice. You do not have to carry their guilt, but you do have to acknowledge it. That is the price of moving forward. Velix closed his eyes. When he opened them, something had changed. The pride was still there, but it was different now. Quieter. More humble. Very well, he said. I will address the galaxy. I will tell them what the Council did. And I will apologize for the crime of my ancestors. The Nexus voice nodded its smooth head. Then we have peace. The collective will cease hostilities. We will withdraw to our own space. The war is over. Jisoo let out a breath she did not know she was holding. The galaxy had been saved by truth, not weapons. By courage, not strength. The journey back to eternal harmony would be long. But for the first time since humanity left The Soul Horizon twisted through space like a fish swimming through water. Ensign Beak Sunho pushed the engines harder than they were designed to go. Warning lights flashed. Alarms screamed. He ignored them all. 40 enemy ships chased them. Their weapons fired constantly, sending physical projectiles through the void. Sunho dodged left, then right, then up. A shot passed so close that the hull groaned from the shockwave. "That was close," Sunho muttered. "Less talking, more flying," Captain Park Jisoo said. She stood in the center of the bridge, watching the battle on every screen. "Dohan, status on the railgun." Lieutenant Kang Do-hyun checked his console. "Charging. 20 seconds until next shot." 20 seconds. In a battle like this, 20 seconds was forever. Engineer Yu Mai-rei worked at her station. Her fingers flew across the tablet, running calculations faster than most computers. She had been thinking about a problem since the battle began. The problem of one ship against 300. "Captain," she said suddenly, "I have an idea. I like ideas. Tell me, our railgun works because it fires physical objects. The enemy cannot phase shift against mass and momentum." Mai-rei turned to face Jisoo. "Council teleportation technology also moves physical objects. What if we combine them?" Jisoo frowned. "Explain." "Council teleporters can move matter instantly across short distances. They cannot use them as weapons because by the time an object arrives, the enemy has phase shifted away. But our slugs move too fast to phase shift against." Moray's eyes were bright with excitement. "We teleport the slug inside the enemy ship. Then we fire it. The slug destroys everything around it before the enemy can react." Do-hyun laughed in disbelief. "Teleporting ammunition? That is insane." "It is brilliant," Jisoo said slowly. "But we do not have Council teleportation technology." "No, but the Council does." Mai-rei pointed at the station on the main screen. Eternal Harmony still floated in space, surrounded by dying warships. "They have the technology. We have the weapon. Together, we might have a chance." Jisoo opened a communication channel to the Council station. High Arbiter Velix's face appeared on screen. His black eyes were wide with fear. His forearms trembled. "Captain Jisoo," he said. His voice had lost all its smoothness. "We saw what your weapon did. How is this possible? Kinetic weapons have been useless for thousands of years." "Not useless, High Arbiter. Forgotten." Jisoo kept her voice calm. "Your shields stop energy, not mass. The enemy knows this. They designed their ships to beat your technology. But humanity never had your technology. We kept our old weapons. And now those old weapons are the only thing that can hurt them." Velix was silent for a moment. When he spoke again, pride had left his voice. Only desperation remained. "What do you need from us?" "Your teleportation systems. We want to link them to our railgun. We will teleport our ammunition inside enemy ships and fire. The combined technology could destroy dozens of ships at once. Share our teleportation technology with primitives? Do you want to live, High Arbiter? Or do you want to die with your pride?" Another Council cruiser exploded outside the window. Velix flinched. His black eyes moved to someone off-screen. Probably his advisors. Probably beings who still thought humans were beneath them. "Do it," Velix said quietly. "Give them access to our teleportation grid." Mai-rei immediately began connecting the Soul Horizon systems to the Council network. It was strange technology, built on principles humanity had never discovered. But Mai-rei understood physics. She understood math. The details were different, but the foundations were the same. "Connection established," she announced after 2 minutes of furious work. "I am syncing our targeting computer with their teleportation array." "Captain, This is going to require perfect timing. The slug must teleport, materialize, and fire within 1/10 of a second. Can you do it? Myre smiled. Watch me. Do-Hyun loaded another tungsten slug into the railgun. His hands moved with practiced ease. Target selected. Enemy battleship, 8,000 kilometers away. Ready on your order, Captain. Jisoo watched the enemy battleship on the screen. It was 3 times the size of the Sol horizon. Dozens of weapons covered its surface. Phase-shifted hull made it untouchable by Council technology, but not untouchable by humanity. Fire, Jisoo said. The railgun activated. At the same instant, Myre triggered the teleportation system. The tungsten slug vanished from the Sol horizon and appeared inside the enemy battleship. For 1,000th of a second, the slug existed in the center of the enemy vessel. Then it continued moving at 3% of light speed. The enemy battleship did not explode. It disintegrated. The slug tore through every deck, every system, every piece of machinery. By the time it exited the other side, the ship was already dead. Silence on the bridge. Then Sunho let out a shout of joy. Again, Jisoo ordered. Target the next ship. Fire. Another slug. Another teleportation. Another enemy destroyed. The Council watched in amazement. Their technology, which they had hoarded and protected for millennia, was suddenly useful again. Not as a weapon itself, but as a delivery system for human weapons. Counselor Zethari's voice came through the communication system. The remaining Council ships are asking how they can help. They want to work with you. Tell them to protect the Sol horizon, Jisoo said. Keep the enemy away from us while we fire. Their shields might not stop enemy weapons, but they can block shots meant for us. Council ships began forming a protective ring around the small human vessel. They could not hurt the enemy, but they could take hits meant for humanity. They could sacrifice themselves so the railgun could keep firing. The battle turned. For the first time since the enemy arrived, they were losing ships faster than they were destroying Council vessels. Then something changed. The enemy armada stopped attacking. Every ship, all at once, became still. They floated in space like statues. What is happening? Do-Hyun asked. A new signal appeared on the communication system. Not from the Council. Not from Earth. From the enemy flagship. They are broadcasting, Myre reported. Universal Translation Protocol. They want to talk. Jisoo nodded slowly. Put it through. A voice filled the bridge. It was not natural, not organic. It sounded like metal scraping against stone, like electricity given speech. We are the Hollow Collective. We have watched civilizations rise and fall for 10,000 years. The Council created us. The Council betrayed us. We came to end them. The voice paused. But you are not the Council. You are something else. You are humans. Jisoo stepped forward. I am Captain Park Jisoo of Earth. What do you want? We want to talk. Not with the Council. With you. With the species that fights with weapons the galaxy forgot. The machine voice seemed almost impressed. You have earned our attention, humans. Come to the coordinates we are sending. Come along. And we will discuss what happens next. The signal ended. The coordinates appeared on Myre's screen. Jisoo looked at her crew. They had fought impossible odds. They had saved the Council that laughed at them. And now the enemy wanted to negotiate. Set a course, she ordered. Let us see what the machines want. The Sol horizon flew toward an uncertain future, leaving behind The Sol horizon floated at the edge of the battle, watching the destruction. Captain Park Jisoo stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind her back, face showing nothing. Inside, Her heart pounded. 12 Council warships had died in the first 5 minutes. Their beautiful energy weapons passed through the enemy like light through glass. Their shields, designed to stop any beam or ray, did nothing against the physical impacts that tore them apart. 30 more enemy ships emerging from hyperspace, reported Ensign Beak Sunho from the pilot's station. He was young, barely 25, but his hands were steady on the controls. Total count now 312. Lieutenant Kan Do-hyun stood at the weapons console. He had not stopped staring at the Railgun status display since they returned to the ship. The weapon was fully charged, ready, waiting. "Captain," he said, "one word from you. That is all I need." Jisoo did not answer. She watched another Council cruiser explode. The crew of that ship had probably laughed at humanity too. They had probably thought humans were nothing but clever animals playing with fire. Now they were dead. The door to the bridge opened. Engineer Yoon Mi-rae walked in, her tablet computer already displaying data. She was small and thin, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Back on Earth, she had designed the targeting systems that made the Railgun possible. "I have been studying the enemy ships," Mi-rae said. "Their hulls are phase-shifted. They exist slightly outside normal space. That is why energy weapons pass through them. Can we hit them?" Do-hyun asked. "The phase shift only affects electromagnetic interactions, light, energy, heat." Mi-rae allowed herself a small smile. A tungsten slug traveling at 3% of light speed is not electromagnetic. It is just mass moving very fast. The enemy cannot phase shift against pure momentum. Jisoo turned to face her crew. "You are saying our Railgun will work when Council weapons cannot?" "Yes, Captain. I am certain." Silence filled the bridge. Everyone understood what this meant. Humanity, the primitive species that threw metal at its problems, had the only weapon that could hurt the enemy. A communication light flashed on the console. Do-hyun checked it and frowned. Incoming message from the Council station. Private channel. Someone named Counselor Zethari. Jisoo nodded. "Put it through." The main screen showed a face covered in purple feathers. Large golden eyes. A sharp beak that opened and closed nervously. Counselor Zethari was an avian from the world called Nest, known for their cautious wisdom. "Captain Jisoo," Zethari said. Her voice was quick and afraid. "I am contacting you against the wishes of the High Arbiter. But I must speak. I am listening, Counselor. The Council was wrong. We were arrogant. We dismissed your species without understanding what you had achieved." Zethari's feathers flattened against her head. "Now we are dying, and our own technology cannot save us. Please, I am begging you, help us." Jisoo said nothing for a long moment. She thought about the laughter, the mockery, the way Velix had called them primitive, the way Thrin had compared them to insects. Why should we? Do-hyun asked, unable to keep quiet. "You sent us away. You said we were not worthy." Zethari lowered her head. "I know. There is nothing I can say to undo that shame. But there are millions of civilians on this station. Scientists, artists, children. They did not laugh at you. They do not deserve to die for the Council's pride." The bridge was silent. Every officer looked at Captain Jisoo. She closed her eyes. Her father had been a soldier. He had taught her that strength was not about winning. It was about doing right even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. "Counselor Zethari," Jisoo said. "We will help." Do-hyun's eyes went wide. "Captain, not for the Council," Jisoo continued. "For the innocent people they failed to protect. And because walking away from those in need would make us worse than those who laughed at us." Zethari's feathers rose with relief. "Thank you. Thank you. The Council will not forget this. Make sure they do not." Jisoo cut the communication and turned to her crew. Battle stations. Sunho, take us into the fight. Myray, I need targeting solutions. Dohyun, I know, Captain. Dohyun was already working. Railgun armed and ready. The Sol Horizon moved forward. It was a small ship compared to Council vessels, designed for speed and exploration rather than combat. But it carried a weapon that no one in the galaxy had seen in 10,000 years. Target the nearest enemy ship, Jisoo ordered. Fire when ready. Dohyun's hand came down on the firing control. The ship shuddered. A tungsten slug, 1 meter long and 20 centimeters wide, left the railgun at nearly 30,000 kilometers per second. In the vacuum of space, it crossed the distance to the enemy ship in a heartbeat. The enemy vessel tried to phase shift. It tried to become untouchable, the way it had against Council weapons. The slug did not care. It punched through the enemy hull like paper. The ship exploded from inside, torn apart by the kinetic energy it could not deflect. For a moment, the battle paused. Every ship, Council and enemy alike, seemed to stop and stare at the impossible sight. An enemy vessel destroyed. The first one to die in the entire fight. A small human ship floated in the debris, its primitive weapons still glowing with heat. Target the next ship, Jisoo said calmly. Fire. Another slug. Another enemy destroyed. The Council ships began to broadcast in confusion. Messages flew across every frequency. What was happening? How were the humans doing this? What weapon was that? Dohyun laughed. It was not a kind laugh. Now they want to know about our railgun. Now they think it is interesting. Focus, Jisoo said. We have 300 ships to deal with and 1 railgun. We cannot win this alone. Myray looked up from her calculations. Then we need to not be alone, Captain. The enemy armada began to turn. Dozens of ships changed course, moving toward the Sol Horizon. They had noticed a small human vessel. They had noticed it was killing them. Enemy ships incoming, Sunho reported. 40 vessels. They are fast. Jisoo gripped the railing. Then we need to be faster. Sunho, evasive maneuvers. Dohyun, keep firing. Myray, find me a way to even these odds. The Sol Horizon dove into the heart of the battle. 1 small ship against an empire of machines. The Council watched from their failing stations, helpless. Everything depended. Upton Park Jisoo stood at the center of the largest room she had ever seen. The grand assembly hall of the station, called Eternal Harmony, stretched upward for hundreds of meters. Light came from everywhere and nowhere. Floating platforms held representatives from 47 different species, all looking down at the small human delegation. Jisoo kept her back straight and her face calm. Behind her stood Lieutenant Kang Dong-hyun and 3 other officers from the Sol Horizon, Earth's first diplomatic vessel. They wore their best uniforms. They had practiced their speeches. They had prepared for this moment for years. None of that preparation helped with the way the aliens looked at them. Eye Arbiter Velik sat on the highest platform. He was an insectoid creature, tall and thin, with 4 arms and eyes that reflected light like black mirrors. He had led the Galactic Council for 300 years. His voice came through translation devices as smooth and cold as ice. Humanity, Velik said. You have traveled far to stand before us. The Council recognizes your request for junior membership in our great civilization. Jisoo bowed her head slightly. We thank the Council for this opportunity. Before we consider your application, Velik continued, tradition requires that you demonstrate your greatest technological achievement. Every species that joins the Council shows us what they have built, what they have created, what makes them worthy. A platform floated down to the center of the hall. On it stood a reptilian creature with green scales and golden eyes. Ambassador Thrin, representative of the Kasari Empire, He smiled at Jisoo with too many teeth. When my people applied for membership, Thrin said, we demonstrated our matter replication technology. We can create any object from pure energy. Food, tools, ships. He spread his clawed hands. What do humans bring? Another platform descended. A being made of living crystal, Ambassador Oryx of the Prism Collective, spoke in musical tones. We showed the Council our gravity manipulation engines. We bend the fabric of space itself. More voices joined. Species after species listed their achievements. Teleportation gates that could move objects across star systems in seconds. Biological enhancement that made bodies immortal. Energy shields that could stop any weapon. Artificial intelligence that had solved every mathematical problem. Jisoo waited. She felt Do-yoon shifting his weight beside her, felt his anger building. She understood. She felt it too, but she would not show it. Finally, Velix raised one of his 4 hands. Silence fell. And now, humanity, show us what you have built. Jisoo stepped forward. Honored Council, humanity's greatest achievement is the magnetic railgun. The silence changed. It became heavier. Then someone laughed. Ambassador Thrin covered his mouth, but his shoulders shook. Forgive me. I thought you said railgun? A kinetic projectile weapon? Yes, Jisoo said. Our railgun uses electromagnetic force to accelerate a metal slug to 3% of light speed. The projectile strikes with enough energy to destroy any target. She activated her display device. A hologram appeared showing the weapon system. Technical specifications scrolled past. Numbers, calculations, the physics of magnetic acceleration. More laughter came from the platforms above. Beings of all shapes and sizes pointed at the hologram and spoke to each other. Jisoo did not need to understand their languages to know what they were saying. High Arbiter Velix leaned forward. His black eyes showed something that might have been pity. Captain Jisoo, this is charming. Truly, your species still relies on kinetic projectiles? On throwing metal at your problems? Our railguns have defended Earth against asteroid impacts, Jisoo said. They have protected our colonies. They work. I am sure they do, Velix said. In the same way that a sharp stick works against an animal. But Captain, we stopped using kinetic weapons 10,000 years ago. They are inefficient, primitive. Our teleportation-based weapons simply remove the enemy from existence. Our energy barriers stop any physical attack. Your railgun, impressive as it may be for a young species, would be useless against any Council technology. Thrin spoke again, still smiling. It is like watching clever insects discover fire. Cute, but not civilization. Lieutenant Do-yoon took a step forward. Jisoo stopped him with a small gesture. His jaw was tight. His hands were fists. The Council has made its decision, Velix announced. Humanity is too primitive for membership at this time. You may reapply in 1,000 years, when you have developed true technology. Jisoo felt the words like a physical blow. Years of work. Dreams of standing among the stars as equals. All gone in a moment of alien laughter. She bowed her head. We understand. We thank the Council for an alarm cut through the hall. Red lights flashed. Every platform shook. Velix touched the device on his arm. His black eyes went wide. Impossible. The hall's great windows showed the stars outside. But now something else appeared. Ships. Hundreds of ships. They came out of hyperspace in a wave of twisted light. Dark vessels, angular and wrong, like broken geometry given form. 300 ships, a Council officer announced, his voice shaking. Unknown design. Unknown species. They are not responding to communication. Velix stood. Power the defense grid. All Council warships, Engage immediately. Jisoo watched through the window as Council ships moved to intercept the enemy. Beautiful vessels, sleek and glowing with energy, armed with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. A Council cruiser fired first. A beam of pure light shot toward the nearest enemy vessel. The beam passed through the enemy ship like it was not there. The Council cruiser fired again. And again. Every shot passed through. The enemy ships kept coming. They did not even slow down. Then the enemy fired back. Something hit the Council cruiser. Not energy. Not light. Something physical. The cruiser's shields did nothing. The ship broke apart in seconds. Their weapons are kinetic, the Council officer said. His voice was barely a whisper. Physical projectiles. Our shields are designed to stop energy attacks. Not this. Another Council ship died. Then another. The enemy armada kept coming, and nothing the Council did could touch them. Jisoo watched the slaughter. She watched the most advanced civilization in the galaxy die because they had forgotten that sometimes throwing metal at your problems was exactly the right answer. Do-hyun leaned close to her. Captain. Our railgun. She nodded slowly. The Council had called humanity primitive. They had laughed. They had sent humans away like children. Now, those same humans might be their only hope. Get back to the Soul Horizon, Jisoo ordered. Power up the weapons. And wait for my command. The battle 6 months had passed since the battle at Eternal Harmony. The scars were still visible on the great station. Broken sections floated in space, slowly being rebuilt. Memorial lights glowed where Council ships had died. But life continued. It always did. Ambassador Park Jisoo stood in the Grand Assembly Hall, the same hall where humanity had been rejected and laughed at. The same platforms floated overhead, carrying representatives from 47 species. But everything was different now. She wore a new uniform. Not military blue, but diplomatic white. Her title had changed from captain to ambassador. Earth's first permanent representative to the Galactic Council. High Arbiter Velix stood beside her. His forearms were folded in a gesture of respect she had learned to recognize. In the months since the war, he had changed. The pride was still there, but it was tempered with wisdom now. With humility. Citizens of the galaxy, Velix announced. His voice carried to every corner of the hall. We gather today to welcome humanity as full members of the Council. Not as juniors. Not as children. As equals. A murmur ran through the assembly. Some species still struggled with this idea. They had spent too long thinking of themselves as superior. But they had also watched their ships explode while a human vessel saved them. That memory made acceptance easier. 6 months ago, Velix continued, I stood in this very hall and called humanity primitive. I laughed at their technology. I rejected their request for membership. He paused. His black eyes found Jisoo. I was wrong. And my wrongness nearly destroyed us all. The hall was silent. A high arbiter admitting error. It had never happened before. Humanity taught us something important. Technology is not about having the newest tools. It is about understanding what you have. The Council received teleportation as a gift from our ancestors. We never truly understood how it worked. When that technology failed us, we had nothing. Velix gestured toward Jisoo. Humans built their railguns themselves. They understood every piece, every principle, every calculation. When they faced an impossible enemy, they adapted. They created. They saved us. Jisoo stepped forward to address the assembly. She looked up at the floating platforms, at the beings who had once dismissed her species. Humanity is grateful for this recognition, she said. But we did not fight for membership. We did not fight for power or glory. We fought because it was right. Because innocent people were dying and we could help. She thought of her father. He would have been proud. The Council and humanity are different. We approach problems in different ways. We value different things. But that difference is not weakness. It is strength. Your teleportation technology combined with our railgun created something neither species could build alone. That is what cooperation means. That is what the Council should be. In the audience, Engineer Yoon My-rae sat beside Lieutenant Kang Do-yeon. They had remained on the station to work on the joint technology project. My-rae led a team of scientists from 12 species, combining ancient Council knowledge with human engineering. They had already created new weapons, new shields, new ships that used both approaches. Do-hyun taught combat tactics to Council military officers. They had never fought with kinetic weapons. They had never thought about physics in the way humans did. Now they practiced with railguns and missiles and projectile launchers. They were learning that sometimes the old ways worked better. Councillor Zithari flew down from her platform to stand beside Jisoo. Her purple feathers were bright with happiness. In the months since the war, she had become humanity's closest ally on the Council. I believed in humanity before it was popular, Zithari said with a musical laugh. I contacted Captain Jisoo when everyone else was too proud. I asked for help when the High Arbiter was too afraid. I am glad I did. Jisoo smiled. You were brave when bravery mattered. I was desperate. But I learned something from watching you. Zithari spread her wings. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is doing what is right despite fear. Humanity showed the Council what real courage looks like. The ceremony continued. Representatives from each species came forward to officially welcome humanity. Some were still uncomfortable. Ambassador Thrin, the reptilian who had laughed loudest at the railgun demonstration, could barely meet Jisoo's eyes. But he came. He acknowledged humanity's place among the stars. That was enough for now. After the ceremony, Velix approached Jisoo privately. They stood by a viewport, looking out at the stars. I owe you more than an apology can express, he said quietly. You saved my people. You saved me. And then you helped us find peace with the collective instead of fighting to the death. We did what was necessary. No, you did what was right. There's a difference. Velix paused. I dismissed your species because admitting you might be equals meant admitting the Council was not special. We had built our entire civilization on the belief that we were the wisest, the most advanced, the best. If humans could match us with primitive technology, what did that say about us? Jisoo nodded slowly. Pride is comfortable. It tells us we are already good enough, that we do not need to change or grow. Losing that comfort is painful. Very painful, but necessary. Velix extended one of his 4 hands in the human gesture he had learned. Thank you, Ambassador Jisoo, for everything. She took his hand and shook it. An alien learning human customs. A former enemy becoming a friend. The galaxy was changing, one small connection at a time. Later that night, Jisoo found Do-yoon and My-rae at a viewing deck. They stood together, watching the stars spin slowly past. I still cannot believe it, Do-yoon said. 6 months ago, we came here begging for junior membership. Now we are equals. Full voting rights. Access to all Council technology. We earned it, My-rae said. With blood and fire and one very good railgun. Jisoo laughed. It felt good to laugh. We earned it by being human. By refusing to give up. By helping when we could have walked away. What happens now? Do-hyun asked. The war is over. The Council accepts us. What comes next? Jisoo looked out at the endless stars. Billions of worlds. Billions of possibilities. Humanity had proven it belonged here. Now they got to explore what that meant. Everything, she said. Everything comes next. We have a whole galaxy to discover. New friends to make. New problems to solve. New technologies to build. With railguns? Do-hyun asked hopefully. With railguns and teleportation. And whatever else we can imagine. Jisoo put her hands on the viewport, feeling the cold glass against her palms. The council spent 10,000 years thinking they had learned everything. We showed them they were wrong. Now we need to remember that lesson ourselves. Never stop learning. Never stop growing. Never stop asking what comes next. The stars shone cold and bright in the darkness. Humanity had come to the galaxy as children, primitive and mocked. They had proven themselves in battle, in wisdom, in mercy. They had saved their enemies and forgiven those who wronged them. And now, standing among the stars as equals, they looked forward to everything the future would bring. The railgun